99% probability it's the object we're looking for.
Initiate phase 1.
These people, they'll kill both of you.
Tell us a little bit about the movie and what you did with it, particularly what kind of feeling you wanted to give audiences when you created it.
I definitely, I've always loved these kind of movies where you have like a normal person that's thrown into, the deep end of the pool and has to learn how to swim. And I've never seen this kind of movie, and it's never been made in Iceland before. So, or from an Icelandic perspective, at least, there's a lot of big movies that are shot in Iceland, but not Icelandic movies. So that was definitely a key thing for me. And I did when I read the book, because it's the only book from this author, who is kind of Iceland's biggest crime author. It's the only book that is of this kind of genre, because he usually writes a more of a Scandinoir kind of stories, But whereas this one is more of an action adventure. And I remember when I spoke with him first, he said, well, this is, because he used to be a film critic, actually, so he's a big film buff, So he said, this is kind of, when I wrote the book, it was kind of my Alistair MacLean story, and Alistair MacLean's story for me means a certain type of movie. So I definitely wanted to stay loyal to that and do that kind of movie and be very honest about that. And that means making a movie it's a thriller, and it's not totally grounded. It's a little bit playful, and it allows you to have fun, basically.
I understand also that you read the books years ago. So you were like a fan of the books when you first, or this book in particular, when you first read it. So what was that journey like? How did you go from being a fan to directing this film?
Yeah, I've read the book when it came out, and this is about 25 years ago. And the book really spoke with me to me, and I really thought it would be a good movie right away. And this is before I went to film school and before I became a filmmaker, really. But I did gather up the courage to call the publisher and ask the publisher if the rights are available, which they were not, by the way, they were taken. So that was that, end of story, I thought. And then about 20 years later, a new producer had the rights and had been developing it for a while, and brought the project to me, So I was like, that on its own was intriguing, and I was very excited to see, how they had been developing it and what ideas they had, but I always remembered this book very fondly, and it was great actually to revisit it, to reread it, and to sort of reconnect with the feeling that I had, 20 years earlier, and some of it, of course, in the book was a thing that is set in the time that it was written. For example, there was a U.S. Army base in Iceland at the time, which plays a big part in the book, but that's no longer in the movie. So it was like we had to update it, and it was challenging, but also it was a lot of fun, and I think we did some changes that were more relevant to our times,
That's what I was going to ask you, how you updated it. Particularly I haven't read the book, but the movie makes me want to read the book now. But yeah, certain things like that, and the whole cell phone thing, like what did you add your updates to this?
That's one thing. The other thing was, of course, everything to do with the base that was here, and was kind of like a big part of Icelandic everyday life back in the day. But that moved away in the 2004 or 5. And then also it has another relevance, which is the melting glaciers. When we have today's climate change, so that's an issue that's not in the book really. But that's for us, it was thematically correct, because we have the plain resurfacing because the glaciers are melting. And then it's also there, there is like in the background a lot of that noise, you know, in the story in the movie, and I think that's we were trying to find a balance of, like, I mean, we're not trying to push that, but it's definitely part of the world that we're in now. Yeah. So that was a big part of the updates also.
Well, Operation Napoleon is in theaters and on demand August 11th. I'm Sari Cohen. I'll see you next time.
We began finding things. A group of people living in the shadows.
We're not leaving without Napoleon.